For the Republic by Wonder 101, Chapter 2, For the Republic. Fighting the enemy isn't the way to win a war. You need to make sure to scare the fucking hell out of them so they won't even think about ever pissing you off again. General Patton, United Republic, Ground Forces, 1940. My god, what have we done? Unknown crew member of B-21 that dropped atom bomb on Ravenna. The United Republic doesn't fight like other people on the planet. Instead of a straight-up fight, they prefer to bleed their enemy dry from all afar until there is nothing left but a dried-up husk, and when the coast is clear, they will then proceed to beat that husk relentlessly and without mercy. It is shocking to some to think that the peaceful, fun-loving Republicans the world has known can become such a monster in wartime. A similar beast exists in all humans. The Republicans is just bigger and well hidden. Vladimir Skrotunovsky, Military and Psychology. FDR. So, Tom, what do you see? Corporal Thomas Shepard looked through his binoculars from his squad's hilltop vantage point at the alien convoy moving towards the city of Saigon. A few columns of the infantry and armored vehicles marched down the streets like they owned the place. The range of his binoculars let him see everything in clear detail. The no doubt smug expressions of the aliens' face as they moved towards the city. The terror on the faces of families living on the outskirts as they were forced from their homes, and the utter horror of those that were shot when they refused or fought back. "It isn't good," said Shepard as he handed the binoculars to his sergeant. Sergeant Rick Harris looked through the binoculars, and his mouth became a snarl as he gazed at the scene below. "Those fuckers," he said with as much venom as he could muster. "That just ain't right," said Sniper Corporal Ellis Hale. "What kind of military does that?" asked Shepard. "The kind that doesn't give a shit about the people they're fighting," said Harris. "We're gonna make 'em pay for it, right, sir?" said the squad's medic, Private Lyle McCoy. "I'm more worried about the Hanoans," Harris said simply as he handed Shepard his binoculars back. The entire squad shuddered at that. The Republicans' retaliation will no doubt be swift and brutal, but the Hanoans? They were a warrior people, but even they understood the difference between soldiers and civilians. To see an army completely disregard that may very well turn the Hanoians and these aliens into permanent enemies. Treaties that go back thousands of years make it so that if you are an enemy of the Hanoi, you are an enemy of the Republic. "We scouted out the enemy's numbers, so let's get back to base," said Harris. "Move out!" Harris and the squad made their way through the abandoned villages and farms around Saigon. They were headed back to the Vietnam Militia HQ right in the center of Saigon under the command of General Ho Chi Minh, who was advised by the Republic-based commander Colonel Williams. The Republic only operated a small base on Vietnam, and in the event of an attack, the base and all of its personnel/equipment was to be placed under the command of the current head of the Vietnamese militia until the Republic military comes in to retrieve them. This was done with little difficulty since the Republic and Saigon have used the same rank structure for thousands of years. General Min's plan was to turn Saigon into a fortress so the aliens would get bogged down in hopeless urban fighting after they get softened up by the many traps scattered around the city outskirts. By the time they make any real progress, the fleet currently on its way would have blown theirs to pieces. They wouldn't have to worry about civilians since they're currently hiding in bunkers built deep under the city. The things were designed to keep a large population alive for at least 10 years, so no worries there. After getting stocked up for an extended mission and filling up their stomachs with warm food from the mess hall, the squad returned to battle. The mission was to observe as the aliens got torn apart by the traps and report on their progress. If there were stragglers, then they were given the green light to pick them off with suppressed weaponry. As Shepard gazed through his binoculars, he grimly noted that the Noans can make a good trap. An entire alien squad, which was advancing down the street of an abandoned village, just fell into a pit filled with what the Hanoans called punchy sticks. The pit was only about 3 feet deep and filled with simple sharpened bamboo stakes, but by God, it was effective. You heard the Hanoans even dip the stake in feces, so if by chance the soldiers survived, then they would get a deadly infection. The aliens were visibly shaken at the sight, and Shepard could swear one of them might have puked. One of them, most likely their commander, restored order quickly and ordered his troops to search the houses. Phase 2 was in motion. An explosion rocketed the village. One of the houses erupted in a ball of fire and shrapnel before the aliens had time to fully react to the first fireball. A second and third appeared around town. The alien commander quickly surmised that the buildings were wired and ordered his troops into the town square. It activated some type of holographic device on its arm and spoke at length into it. Not too long after, an extra platoon of alien soldiers, armored vehicles, and even a gunship arrived on the scene, along with a team of heavily armored aliens that might be a bomb squad. This was proceeding exactly the way the commander wanted, so it must be time to tell them. "Commander," said Harris as he radioed in, "this is Little Birdie." "Roger, Little Birdie, this is Commander. What do you have to tell us?" "Enemy has halted in Sector 11-5 and has called in reinforcements, requesting permission to begin Phase 3. "Permission granted, Little Birdie. Show them your talents. Over and out." Sergeant Harris then turned towards Ellis. "Hit it." A malicious grin crossed Ellis's face as he pressed down on the detonator he'd been holding. "Burn in hell, you son of a bitches." In almost an instant, the entire town was a gigantic fireball, which destroyed everything in its path. The gunship tried to escape, but it too was caught in the blast. So many others. Soon, dazed and heavily burned aliens stumbled out of the flames. The squad was under orders to leave no survivors in these attacks. Shepard wondered if the alien fleet could see the huge inferno which used to be 100 or so of their troops. The alien fleet couldn't see the fireball, but they most certainly heard about it, and unfortunately for them, this would be the only time they would hear about an abandoned town exploding today. Eventually, the aliens stopped going into abandoned towns and villages. The aliens then started coming across small farming and fishing communities, still with their citizens, but upon closer inspection, these were just plain clothed Hanoi commandos known as the Viet Cong, who specialized in guerrilla warfare. After losing too many troops to these commandos, the aliens stopped going into the towns and villages, preferring to surround them and send in robots. Too bad half the bombs were manually activated by a detonator. This engagement was not going the way the Turians wanted it. These aliens didn't fight in any way they're used to, and they are having serious trouble countering it. Turians were trained since they were 15 to fight a certain way, and that they were invincible. In the weeks since they'd been on this planet, this upstart species has completely deconstructed everything they knew about warfare. Not only that, but they can't counter it since the hierarchy frowns upon the unorthodox. Anything seen as un-Turian was promptly thrown out the airlock, especially changes to the military structure that has defended all civilized space for centuries. Turians were trained to advance slowly and brutally forward, forming an invincible ball that no one could defeat head on. The aliens show that if you couldn't knock down a wall with one big blow, then you do so with smaller blows. Enter squads would be wiped out without warning, and by the time their comrades would figure out the direction the shots came from, the alien soldiers would be long gone. This continued until the invisible Turian wall that was feared by other species in the galaxy had lost a full quarter of their number, and they haven't even seen the enemy yet. Turians were trained to secure all towns and cities. The planet had only one major city, and from what orbital surveys have shown, it's a well-stocked fortress. All of the towns were either rigged with explosives or filled with guerrillas lying in wait. General de Solis would like nothing more than to destroy the settlements from orbit, but that would have been against the Citadel conventions due to the large amounts of damage mass accelerators could do to a garden world. Besides, Admiral Verlin would never let him get away with something like that, so they had to clear them out the old-fashioned way. Turians do not distinguish soldiers from civilians due to how ingrained the military is in their society. This had led to them butting heads with Asari quite a few times. Standard procedure dictates that all enemy non-combatants are to be removed from their dwelling to secure holding facilities. Any that resist must be terminated to keep them from fighting Turian forces. These species must be somewhat like the Krogan, since at least 60% of them resist and must be shot. The remaining 40% from the day they entered the camps do everything in their power to disrupt Turian activity somehow. They refuse to speak to linguistics or camp personnel. They are constantly aloof, refuse to even look in a Turian's general direction for too long, and those that do are near constantly glaring. The few prisoners they captured haven't said much. When they do say something, it is usually their names followed by a string of gibberish over and over again until whoever is questioning them stops. There's also that look they have. If their facial expressions are similar to Asari, then that look they all share is both smug and amused. Like they find this whole invasion a joke, and only they know the punchline. Though the Turians weren't allowed to call it an invasion, it was a peacekeeping action to enforce the law against opening mass relays. A good portion of the fleet agreed that the aliens never really did anything wrong. They were never a signatory of the Citadel Convention, so that had no obligations to follow its laws, and that if they even knew about it. The truth about this is that General Desolis just wants to increase his prestige by turning a group of primitives into the newest hierarchy client race. Desolis and that brother of his are some of the densest Turians in the galaxy. He thinks that this is the species' homeland, but if he looked closer, he sees things aren't as they seem. This planet has a few major cities, and there is no heavy industry required for a spacefaring species to be seen. The estimated population for this world is around 50 million. They should be in the billions if this was their home world. Then again, they have no idea how long this species lives and how quickly they breed. Another was that the ships the patrol group met earlier were nowhere to be seen. That should have raised some alarms in Desolis' head, but he was too focused on the matter at hand. Desolis was prepping for an all-out assault on the biggest city on the planet, intent on taking it, hoping it will break the aliens' will. They haven't even entered formal combat with the aliens, and half their number was dead or dying from guerrilla attacks and traps. The Turian soldiers spearheading the assault could only pray to the spirits that these aliens weren't as skilled in urban combat as they were in guerrilla warfare. Unique abilities for the human nations. Holy Empire of Rome, the glory of Rome. All colonies/cities get a 25% production bonus for buildings that are already constructed in Rome proper on Earth. Rome already has built everything it can build, so it can start colonies with basic buildings fairly quickly. Federal Republic of Germany, Führer Titanicus, 25% reduced maintenance for military units. Defeated pirates/slavers/mercenaries have a 50% chance of joining their side. Instead of prison sentences or execution, German operates a penal battalion called the Star Battalion. After a certain number of years of good service, depending on the crime, the soldier is released, and with German citizenship. United Socialist State of Russia, Galactic Riches. The strategic resources provide +1 production and double platinum, uridium, and element 0 resources. Russia is the only nation that has better mining techniques than the Koreans, allowing them mine large amounts of resources for trade or domestic use. The Republic of Carthage, Phoenician heritage. All new colonies receive a free spaceport. Carthaginian soldiers can cross mountains like it's an open terrain tile and fortify on them. Carthaginian colonial procedure requires that a proper spaceport is built before any settlement can begin. So, unlike the other nations, they can land large scale ships on their colonies. Over the centuries, they have also managed to perfect mountain combat and remains the only nation that can set up artillery positions or infantry bases in the most inhospitable mountain ranges. United Republic of States, a manifest destiny. The Republic has the most advanced sensors in the galaxy, allowing them to see a quarter of a star system. The Republic can purchase or acquire colonies at reduced cost. The Republic can expand like crazy if they want it, but that isn't the way the Republic does things. The Republic looks at all the territory it can get and picks the best spots based on resource or tactical value. They don't settle on every piece of available land. I'm looking at you, Hitler. Heard a higher transmission interrupted. End of chapter 2.